Hello and welcome to the Celebrating Dungeons & Dragons 2025 panel at Comic-Con San Diego. Woo! I'm the moderator for today. I'm Ross Thompson. I am the Director of Marketing at Atomic Mass Games. We do the miniatures games for Star Wars and Marvel. I've worked in the industry for about 16 years, and I started playing D&D at 3rd edition in middle school, so super fun there, which is great. And yeah, now we'll pass it off to our panelists.
All right. Hey, folks. I'm Teagan Morrison. My background is in video games. I was tech art director on the Uncharted series, and then I founded Hero Forge back in the day and got to grow that, which has been absolutely wonderful to sort of sit alongside the D&D growth over the years. And I've been feeling a little left out at these how long have you been playing D&D game questions, because my thing is introducing people to D&D. Yeah. I think I'm approaching maybe 100 people that I've introduced to D&D. I'm like, let's I suppose that's personally. If we're counting Hero Forge, probably more. But I'll just say, oh, you haven't played before? I'm going to gather you up with all the other people I know that haven't played, and we're doing a 3-part campaign, and we're going to hopefully end in a place where you're really, really excited to keep playing. So, yeah, that's my thing.
Great. Woo! Woo!
Hey everyone, I'm Elisa Teague. I'm a game designer and RPG author. I've written on a bunch of different RPGs, but we're talking about D&D today. So for D&D stuff, you'll know me probably best. I wrote the puzzle section of Tasha's Guide to Tasha's Cauldron and everything. Oh my God. My brain is whoop. But I also am a game designer, and I'm a professional DM. I do things like D&D in a castle. I'm doing this really cool cruise next year that's D&D on a river cruise down the Danube, and it ends in like Dracula's castle. And I just love D&D more than pretty much, not anything, but most things.
Woo!
Hi guys, I'm Anjali Bhimani. I am an actress, writer, producer, whatever they pay me to do that's legaler. In the D&D world specifically, I've done shows with Dimension 20 and Critical Role and Geek and Sundry, and again, whoever will play with me. Recently, I also wrote my very first adventure on D&D Beyond called The Malady of Minar, which I'm very excited about. Thanks, guys. And then I also recently just became a co-producer of the 20-Sided Tavern National Tour.
Woo! Yeah!
I'm sure there's some, and I have just started DMing last year with the Lego one-shot, you guys.
Whoa. Yeah.
I'm talk about throwing me in the deep end. Hey, you want to go to Denmark and shoot something and be the DM for the first time in front of a bunch of people?
You started playing with 5th edition?
I started playing with 2nd edition when I was 8 years old.
Yes.
Yes. And then I stopped in high school, at the end of high school, and began what I call the dark days of gaming. And then I came back to everything in like 2017 when Matt and Marisha and I met.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. My name is Jim Zub, and D&D changed my life like everyone else here. I'm probably best known, I've written more Dungeons & Dragons comics than anyone else, including the Heroes of Baldur's Gate, and also Rick and Morty versus Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah.
And Stranger Things, Dungeons & Dragons, how the kids started playing D&D before the TV show, which was the same era I started playing in. I've been playing D&D since 1st edition when I was 8 years old. And I'm probably, other stuff I do, the Young Adventurers guides for D&D, those little books you can get down at the Random House booth to introduce new people to D&D, which is really full circle for me, because it's like trying to take that excitement, the things that I love about the game and what I made the game kind of spark my creativity and made me want to tell stories and entertain people for a living, now is all kind of at home in those books. And we get fan mail from people all over the world in different languages telling us about their characters and sending us drawings of all the things that they do and their quests and their magic items. And getting to meet those people at shows like this has been just absolutely life-affirming. It's one of the best things ever. Thanks to people like Alicia, I'm now a D&D in a Castle Dungeon Master as well. So I did my first Castle DM last year, and that kind of blew my mind. So I'm back for a double dose of it this fall. And in 2019, I was on the D&D Live I shaved my head so
I
I could play
remember that.
Minsk on the live stage with Matt Mercer.
Did you bring a hamster?
No, Mercer was the hamster.
Of
That was the
course.
best part.
Of course he was.
It was so good. It was such a good time. Anyways, so yeah, I like that stuff.
I wrote that.
It's really great.
You were the Medusa with the whole thing,
That
right?
was the. Oh no, that was. Oh yeah, you're right. That was that year. The year before for the Waterdeep one, I
Right.
wrote
Oh, very cool.
that D&D Live and all the puzzles and all
Amazing.
everything. Yeah.
Amazing. So good. Anyways,
guys are so
we're all fans of each other's stuff up here too, so we're just geeking out. Sorry about that. You guys just happen to be here and we're just going to chat. It's
Yeah,
great.
don't mind us.
So with that, I have all these questions prepped, but kind of with the fun of everything going on here, I'd love to hear about D&D in a castle. Elisa, you've been rocking at that, and Jim, you've been doing those things there.
Yeah.
What has created this excitement around?
I mean, think
going
about when
What?
I was a kid, I went through the satanic panic.
right.
Yeah.
And my parents literally took away my D&D books because they were worried about it. And now libraries love it and schools love it. And people do deluxe vacation packages to go to a castle and play Dungeons and Dragons for 4 days.
Look.
Like we are living in the most insane, wondrous time. I can't even.
It is not the worst job in the world to be flown to England and you get to stay in a 13th century castle and play Dungeons and Dragons with people who really, really want to be there. It is a luxury vacation.
Right.
It's all inclusive, and we play 2 sessions a day, sometimes
8 hours a day
3
or
if
more,
you,
yeah.
there's a hardcore mode. If you, but yeah, it's the most magical experience, and I've not only met so many wonderful other DMs by doing this, but also my players. Like it's almost like a summer. I call it. It's like a summer camp
Yeah.
environment because people come back every year.
And not to get
sometimes
too,
multiple times a year.
like hyperbolic about it, but literally people are getting on the bus to leave and they're like, it's like they're signing each other's yearbooks, kind of equivalent, the program guides, and they're crying as they leave because it's like you've had this such an intense, focused experience. Like it's the most intense kind of D&D play I've had since I was in high school, and we would do like a sleepover at someone's house, play until we couldn't keep our eyes open, go to bed, wake up, have breakfast, and then start again.
It's 3.5 days straight of D&D, and then on your off time, you can also do one-shots.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, it's pretty good. But to answer your question, I think the reason why it's so, like, people want it
Right.
and whatever is because, well, first of all, we're in, like, this renaissance of TTRPGs in general, but D&D especially, and I think people spent a lot of time, especially during the pandemic, watching shows and wanting to be a part of it. And now there's a desperate need, I think, for a lot of people to be part of a community. And especially as you get older, everybody in the room, some of you can probably relate to this. I don't know if you can relate to me, but it's harder and harder to keep that schedule, to be able to do the once a week thing, to be able to really like play in a full campaign. So especially for, professionals that are busy or people who have families, it's a time to take a vacation and get a campaign that's like slammed into like this, like, I don't
Right.
know, a couple days.
Yeah, what shocked me so
Intense
much was the first day, I was super nervous because you're like, people are paying for this, I gotta give them their money's worth and I want them to be all happy. Most of them are strangers with each other, and we've been in a chat room for a few months as they make their characters and we get prepped, but they still haven't met each other in person. And they're not professional actors or anything like that, so they're meeting each other and you can see that nervous energy and excitement. Day one, I was like, trying to lift everyone up and in terms of energy and excitement and description and this is where we're going to hit in terms of the game. And I finished that first day and I went to bed. My wife was with me as well. She works on D&D stuff as well, and she was just like, you look like hell, like you just wiped out. And I go, I don't know how I'm going to do this for 2 more days. I had a wonderful time, but it's so much. The next morning, it was like we'd suddenly been playing for a year together. Everyone suddenly felt so comfortable. I didn't have to do last game, here's what happened. It was yesterday. And so everyone just immediately keyed in all the in-jokes and the nicknames. We were just like, it was like we were ride or die. It was so crazy. And the switch flipped and I went, oh yeah, this is easy. We got this, like no problem.
That's great. I mean, and it's fascinating because like with Virginia Castle, D3HC, there's cruises, there's all these
Yeah.
vacations now. There's Dungeons and Cabins here in Southern California too, right? And
It's
so all these
wild.
different ways to go find gaming and doing these things and play all that. And it's this want to connect, I think, as we're doing all of that. When we ran this panel back in 2022, it was kind of fresh off everything being in quarantine and all of that. And it was, when we were doing the group question, it was, how many games were you playing during quarantine, right? It was like, oh, 1 game, 2 games, 4 games, 5 games, right? We can do the whole thing there. But now that we're all in person, it's like, oh, what can we do this and stuff like that?
Sure.
Which is fascinating, right?
And being given permission that you don't have to deal with anything else except for the game. One of my players texted us he was going to be late for the evening session because you can do morning and afternoon or evening, whatever, depending on whatever you schedule. And I was shocked. And we all thought he had mentioned to us he had a lot of work stuff he was worried about, and we thought, oh no, I hope he didn't get pulled into work stuff. He's not going to be into the game. And he shows up all nervous, half an hour late, and we're all like, take a quick break. We go, are you okay? Like, is there anything wrong? And he looks really nervous, and he goes, and we go, was it work? And he goes, no. And we're like, what? You don't have to tell us if it's something personal. He goes, no, I just had to zoom in and play an NPC in my home game. And I was like, you cheated on my D&D game with D&D? And he was like, yeah. And we were like, that's awesome.
So
Amazing.
switching gears a little bit. So along with playing games and doing things, there's a lot more consuming of D&D outside of playing the games. We watch actual plays, we read books, we read comics, we do these things there. And it's been fascinating to kind of see all these things. Anjali, why do you think we're seeing this rise in consuming D&D content, that kind of stuff there?
Because it's awesome. I think that there is, coming from, I started in the theater and then started doing television and then added voiceover and video games and then discovered that TTRPG actual play was another venue. And what I feel like happens when you switch over to games, but particularly tabletop games, is that you go from consuming to being a part of the story, right? And when you are playing a video game, you're playing as the character, you have agency over what the character does, but you still don't have 100% agency over the story. When you start playing D&D or any other TTRPGs, you are the writer's room and you are the actor. You are the person who is completely in charge of your own destiny. However gracefully or ungracefully you do it, you make it through the adventure or die a noble death or whatever it is. And I think that agency is something that a lot of us feel lacking in the rest of our lives, in our day-to-day lives, more and more and more. There's a lot of stuff we don't have control over, but when we do have control over the story, we remember that we have control over our story. And when we get to play a hero, we see that hero in ourselves. So the more we get to practice being the hero, more we take that agency out in the world. So I think people are starting to take it in via actual play and via books and all of these things, because that sense of agency and wonder in the face of danger and chaos is, that's something we all need right now in today's world.
Right.
And gone are the days where an actor, like a triple threat actor, is an actor, singer, dancer. Now you're an actor, writer, producer, or you're an actor, director, choreographer, or you're someone behind the story or behind creating the art. And that's what we do when we're playing D&D. So I think this is a really wonderful place where we're seeing a lot of storytelling innovation happen. Every project that I have worked on this year has been so unique. Especially, I'm really excited about one that's coming soon, and I can't tell you about it, but it's killing me. It's coming around November, and it's gonna be awesome. But just everybody gets so excited to find new ways to do the thing because there are no wrong answers.
I think that's great, right? And so you kind of bring up creating your characters and creating these stories, and a really cool way that we can make characters is with Hero Forge.
Yes.
So Teagan, please tell us all about that.
Yeah. How many people, just from hands up, have tried Hero Forge?
Whoa.
Excellent. So I don't need too much of an introduction there, but we've been, I hope, a very powerful kind of companion piece to all the stories that folks tell around the table, where you get to then visualize the character that you are playing as. I have, just to shout them out before I forget, if anyone wants to see some of the new stuff we're working on, I got a little metal guy, the new metal that we're working on, a little keychain, and one of the dice. We just did a little dice Kickstarter. You're welcome to come up and see it at the end, briefly before we shut down. Yeah, no, right now. But I think that so much of this takes place in our imagination, to the point that you're right, you're working through your own stresses or your own sense of self through these characters. It's a rare, special moment that you get to like turn a little bit of that manifest into the real world. So I think that's why Hero Forge just resonated with us, why we wanted to make it, and why folks have been so excited for it, to take a little piece of what's just so in the realm of imagination and pull it into the real world. And then why we're seeing D&D show up in all of these different places, because it gets to be an extension of that like excitement and purely imaginative thing that happens.
Well, and also you guys give agency to us as players to really create our characters visually in a way that I don't know any other companies that do it. Maybe they do.
No.
Not to that extent. I mean, my dog has I can't call it a mini, it's more of a maxi, but like, my dog, my Charlie Barkenter Bard Biscuitologist has his own mini as a bard.
Did you make on Hero Forge?
Yeah, because we did that
Fantastic.
through the puppy roll, because you guys sponsored the puppy roll, and you guys helped us raise a bunch of money for animals by playing D&D as our pets.
I'm going to interject and say that my kids are also role players, but also just used Hero Forge. My son used it as a birthday gift for his girlfriend and did like a maxi of like her on her horse and him holding our cat and like her reaching down to him. It was like the sweetest thing ever. This was like a week and a half ago.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all, we just hacked romantic gifts through Hero Forge.
I'm telling you. You can even personalize them on the bottom.
I don't want to be a walking advert for Hero Forge at this point, but
It's okay.
It's okay, we'll do it for you.
it's awkward how wholesome I find it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, we're getting to like supplement people's stories around the table, and I like tear up a little bit. I'm like, we're bringing people around the table together to tell stories, and it's wild how far D&D has come from something that would take place in a figurative basement behind closed doors because of the satanic panic, because of the unknown, what is this thing, this strange like type of storytelling, and now it is something so known and so
empowering. I think is what's so exciting about
empowering.
it. So, when I was when I first started playing with my older brother, he's 4 years older than me, and our older cousins, I was the youngest, I was very scrawny, and there was no way I could play sports with them. Even if we were playing video games, my hand-eye coordination wasn't going to be as good as theirs because I was too young. But around that table, on my turn, they had to listen to me, and my dice rolls were as good as anyone else's, and my ideas were what made me special at the table, and my excitement and my energy. And in those moments, for the first time, I felt like one of the older boys. I felt seen and excited and engaged. And if I made them laugh, that was the greatest sound. That was the coolest thing I could be. And it made me want to tell stories and entertain people for the rest of my life. It lit a creative fire in me that has never died. Well, it's like my secret weapon is role-playing. When I'm writing the Avengers, what would Steve Rogers do?
Right.
What would Clint Barton do? What would Wanda Maximoff do? Well, if I put them in a scenario and I was playing them, it would be like that, and they would sass like this, and they would say that, or soaring rhetoric, or whatever may have you. I'm just role-playing. I'm just role-playing over and over and over again. Conan the Barbarian, or Samurai Jack, or Rick and Morty, it doesn't matter. I'm those characters as I write, and I've learned that thanks to Dungeons & Dragons and TTRPGs.
I think also, in addition, just like giving people the opportunity to be creative, it also gives people the opportunity to try on different personas, different things that they may be afraid to do in real life. And so, you can be a really like shy, introverted person, but get around the table and suddenly you are the hero. It allows you to like do different things that you never would accomplish, or never would think you could accomplish in real life. And it gives people that inspiration to do those things outside of the game as well.
I became a confident, absolutely. I became a confident public speaker around the table, but I was terrified and nervous and outside of the game. And then I started to play the person that I wanted to be, the kind of witty isms that I would think about, but I said, well, you can't say that. What if people don't laugh? And then you're like, but around the table, they almost always do. And then eventually you'd pepper it into the conversation and people would be like, oh, Jim, you're so witty. And I'm like, well, that version of me is, or whatever. And I literally, when I went off to college, I moved out and I went into residence, and it was a chance for me to sort of start fresh. And it was almost like the chance for me to not be the scared kid I was in high school. And I was like, all right, now I'm the Bard version, like I'm gonna be me. And when some of my college friends met my high school friends and they were like, oh, shy, little quiet Jim, and like, Jim's the life of the party. What are you talking about? That guy's a whirlwind. And you're like, well, they're both me, but evolving, yeah.
Right.
I think also, and I'm sure Elisa had some experience like this as a woman playing for a long time, but I grew up in Orange County, California, where there weren't a lot of people who looked like me. When I was, a kid, I love someone's like throwing up the fingers in the back for Orange County. I love that. But I was a little brown girl amidst a sea of not brown people. And it would have been very easy, and I just realized this really just like in an interview very recently, it would have been very easy for my experience to be very separating and make me feel very marooned and make me feel very alone. But I had D&D when I was 8. And it didn't matter what you looked like, it didn't matter where you come from, it didn't matter what species you chose, it didn't matter what class you chose, there was a seat for you at the table. Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter whether you were a halfling or you were a giant, you could kill a red dragon with the right rules. And so I had that experience growing up, so I really understood what it was like to feel other and unique, but not othered. Because at that table, everyone was working together. No one had to be good at everything. Unlike all Asian parents think. No one had to be good at everything because we all had someone else who could match that sense of collaboration. And so I really skated over a lot of unfortunate experiences I think a lot of other people have in their formative years because of this game. I also won the 4th grade spelling bee because no one else could spell vengeance.
It's funny, you talk about vocabulary, 100%. Yeah. When I would read those books and reread those books, I would see a word, I would mispronounce it. For years I thought it was melee, it's melee, but you'd read that word and they'd literally look it up in the dictionary because you're like, that sounds like a cool word, what does that mean, and it expanded my desire, the way I would write about things or visualize them, because I would absorb that artwork. So many of those images from the original Monster Manual are like tattooed in my brain. Sure. Like when you say, Minotaur, you're like, yeah, I know exactly what that one looks like, or a Gorgon, or and it just, whenever we do anything mythological, of course, in school, I was just like the wizard. I could just throw it out there. My teachers were blown away that I knew what was in a castle keep and all these other things. But beyond that, just that ability to be excited about something and pour yourself into it and educate yourself at the same time.
It's not only vocabulary either, it's math.
Yeah.
And then, you're talking about
history,
like, being part of a team and whatever.
Yep.
Like, we've had this conversation before, but like, I escaped the Satanic Panic because the junior high school that I went to, we had a D&D club because the principal of my school thought that it was great for team building. And so we had a club, like we had D&D, and so my parents encouraged me to play D&D, so I feel very fortunate.
Lucky child.
But there's so much educational value
and
to
learning
games.
that everyone at the table is going to get their chance to do something, learning that you need to give, that you have to collaborate, not just, even the dungeon master has to sort of acquiesce or listen and engage with rather than just be like my way or the highway.
Well, they should.
Right. If you're doing it right,
yeah.
But it is that kind of engagement. And that's what it would be so funny because in high school I would talk to my friends and I would sort of say, look, if more people played role-playing games, this would be a better world, a more empathetic world.
For sure.
It would be we would learn to overcome our problems and cheer each other on. And my friends would roll their eyes. They're like, it's just Cheetos, dude. We're just killing orcs. It doesn't matter. And I was like, no, I would get all this.
But that's just it too. Think about, teachers sneak education into all sorts of things by putting together games.
Yeah.
Think about how many cool things that got snuck into our lives because of this game. I knew so much about medieval weaponry in 5th grade.
Yes.
Like, ain't nobody could talk about a halberd. Nobody knew what that was going on. Nobody knew any of that stuff, but we did.
Right.
And so, like, that too is just such a wonderful thing.
I want to give a shout out to Hero Academy, which is unrelated to Hero Forge. It's one of those non-profits that sort of runs D&D games for kids and after-school projects. And that kind of thing where they're really very deliberately, actively teaching kids social skills and consent and so much navigating space in interpersonal relationships. One, incredible and such a great way to learn, but two, we're still doing that as adults.
Oh, we sure are. And places like Geek Therapeutics that are using it to help people through really difficult times or difficult situations. There's so many wonderful groups coming together to help other people because of the collaborative nature of this game.
Which is pretty exciting too, because we're in a point right now where, like, if you want to watch D&D, you want to play D&D, you want to do these things. Here in San Diego, we have Ladies of D&D. They've been doing all these awesome things there. Tavern Tales SD has been popping up, and in the last few weeks, they've been having these chats with groups that are like, oh, we want to do a new convention, we want to do a new thing, and there is this huge rise right now in people wanting to gather and wanting to play and meet new folk, which is awesome because discoverability can be a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have your friend group, you have your stuff, but oh my gosh, we're all enjoying this stuff. And I saw some of my old high school friends in Instagram posts for the Ladies of D&D stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to them in 20 years. But like, this is awesome that this is all going on. So as a fun thing, I think, you guys want to do Q&A a little early?
Yeah.
Sure.
Because otherwise you're stuck with us continuing to talk by ourselves. and I
No,
don't know
no,
you
no,
want
no,
that.
no, we're all good. I had a lot of questions, but it's
No, don't do
exciting.
it.
So I think what we're going to do is there's a mic right there in the middle there, and Tech will probably have it on, which would be great. And if we can line up behind the mic right there, and we can ask questions, but we don't want to hear your life story. We don't want to hear about your D&D character that much. But if you can please come
Just not
ask-
here. I mean, we love that you want to share that in the world. Just maybe
but-
not here.
For time wise, you want to be respectful, so please, we can do that. And let's go.
Rock it out.
So I am actually not the D&D player, but my husband and children are, since it developed during COVID, and they, like you have said, blossomed in their language skills, in their thought processing and problem solving in general. I'm wondering if you collaborate with children and do other child-led, what do you call them again?
Campaigns?
Campaigns, thank you.
Oh, campaigns. Oh, yeah. So are you asking about what are
Like
some
if
youth
some
campaigns?
if some of the time you spend intentionally leading children's
Games?
games.
Yeah.
So, Jim, you've got
Right.
some books,
So the
right?
Young Adventurers Guides are these, well, there was supposed to be a 3-book series. We're on book 8 of a 3-book series. They're doing very well. All about sort of taking the fundamentals of the rules, stripping away the numbers, because that's not what's going to be exciting at the table. We'll tell you, you're going to almost always, with a kid, play with someone more experienced anyways. So they'll tell you when to roll the dice, what numbers you need to hit, or things like that. What you need to bring to the table are your ideas and your creativity. That you make choices about what you want to play, how you want to play, and what their personality is. And so the books are really all about distilling everything down to a series of really easy, and the language is still complicated, but all focused on generating characters, beautiful artwork, so there's lots of visual things and choices that they can look at and choose between. And even, I know this sounds like it wouldn't be helpful, but there's like flowcharts of literally choose this, then choose that, boom, you have a character. And so you can get someone to the table fast, they can make choices and start to play and make memories together. And we have seen just an incredible response to those books. And they're cheap. They're a full little hardcover, full color book, and they're like $12. And they just, now they're everywhere. They're at the airport bookstores and all over the place.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's helpful even we found a lot of adults have bought them to understand what their kids are already playing, or to feel confident, that they can come to the table and play with their kids, because they also look at, charts and all the stats, and they're just like, what is this? And you're like, it's not complicated. Roll this die. Higher is better. Let's make a story together. That's
Awesome.
really
What are the questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Steve. I won't get into the whole lot of background, but father of 2. I was a player. It was easier to find friends at school who had similar interests. And today, and especially post-COVID, younger kids, everything, just getting the kids together. Where do they start? Like, how do we get the next generation to be interested, to find friends, to find this game, to find it the same way we'd found it, the way we love it?
So I'd have to hop on this,
jump.
but one of the really cool ways to do that is at your local game store. They will have clubs, they will have leagues, they can play in that. There are all kinds of different organizations, either run by Wizards or by the local store. And if you reach out, they've got a lot of cool things. I know when I was working at the game store back in high school, we ran a YMCA D&D camp, which was super fun. And we just used like basic dice and, oh my gosh, you got over a 10, woo, did all that. So that was kind of a really good way to kind of get going on that. Yeah. And
I would also just recommend that if your kids are in school, that they encourage their administration to allow them to start a club. And most schools will allow a club to be started as long as there's some sort of sponsor, either a teacher, like a member of the faculty, or a volunteer parent. So that could be you.
And Wizards has an official school club support kit. So if you go on the website and search for that, Wizards can send you a whole D&D support kit on that. It'll have adventures, books, modules, sheets, the whole thing.
Don't be afraid, though, just to start with something that doesn't even really look like D&D in the rules. You can tell a story together. You can sit down and be like, we're just telling a story.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
You can add a little randomness to that if you want. I've told stories around campfires with nothing but a deck of cards, and we've gone through whole adventures together because all you need is that little sprinkle of randomness so no one's necessarily in charge. And kids above adults will get right on board with that.
And I know, we're here on the official Dungeons & Dragons panel, so there's this notion that it has to be D&D or whatever, and that totally makes sense. But on the other hand, we used to play like these kinds of storytelling games. There was one time we got caught in a rainstorm. We were underneath the bridge waiting for the rain to stop. One of the guys had a D6 in his pocket, and we were literally playing on a pizza box spread out underneath the bridge, telling a funny story together. And then when we got back to the house, we kept it going. Like, you don't need books, you don't need tons of merchandise and products to tell stories and make memories together. The people are what make these games so beautiful, and the time spent together is what makes it great.
100%.
That is beautifully put. Keep a D20 in your glove box in your car. Case of emergency.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Next question?
So somebody once told me that they thought the first character that you ever play is who you want to be aspirationally, and the second character you ever play is who you really are. I was wondering, it's been a long time since you guys started playing. Do you remember your first character? And if not, is there a different character that you think of yourself aspirationally as?
Let's go down the line.
Oh no, I'm so embarrassed to answer this question in light of that framing because the first character I played was an orc cleric whose thing was sort of rejecting God, and this was back in militant atheist days, and it was a little angry. Though the important part of that orc cleric is that you don't really get orcs with cleric outfits, so I had to glue it together. And in that orc cleric breaking so easily, so many times on the tabletop, I was like, we should make Hero Forge.
Mine, I actually resurrected her for a first edition game that I play with a bunch of friends. But my original character, an elf thief named Zalfira, most difficult thing to pronounce for everybody. And I think that I've kind of been typecast as that. I mean, that's been, for those of you who didn't play older editions, thief was the class back then. Oh. And before that, elf was a class, but we're not going to get into all of this. But anyway, I was typecast with all of my second and tertiary characters as some sort of elf, rogue, ranger, something, all the time, forever, until very recently, actually, in my life. I don't know what that says about me.
This is actually funny that you asked this question, because now that I'm thinking about it, it points to my entire career. My first character was so there were only 4 classes when I first started playing. I multi-classed in 3, because that was as many as you were allowed to. But my first character was a cleric magic user fighter. I think her name was like my name backwards or something very similar to that. But she looked like, I was for some reason obsessed with drawing bodybuilders, female bodybuilders as adventurers. So she was ripped, but she was dressed in like a Princess Leia armor type thing. So I was like, cool, apparently that's who young me wanted to be. I have to share this. This is so bad, but I have to share it. Back then, instead of gender, they wrote sex on the sheets, and I was so young that I sort of didn't know what that meant. And so I wrote 50%. No idea what that's supposed to mean. I was like, she's sort sort of sexy. She's 50% sexy. Is that what you're asking? And then, I don't know about my second character, but I can say the character that I came back to role-playing games with was not actually in D&D. It was in the game called Outbreak Undead for a show called We're Alive Frontier. And that character very much is who I am, minus the fact that I'm not a good sniper. But she's
Or
very
so
much
you
like,
say.
don't make me the leader, but I will kill for my family, and you guys are my family. And she sort of inadvertently sometimes becomes the leader, but it's not a role that she ever wants. And of course, she's a secret doctor, which I kind of am because I'm Indian. So all of those things, I think, happen. And her name was Stingray. Her name was Ray, but they called her Stingray.
Amazing. That's awesome.
Fantastic.
So first edition D&D, basic D&D, I flipped through the book and I decided I was going to make a dwarf. And under the recommended names for dwarfs, one of them was Rolf, so I was Rolf. And the first time my brother and I just played, the two of us, he told me that the game was all about going into these places and killing monsters and getting treasure and stuff. And then there's an old module called The Village of Hamlet. I don't know if you guys know this one. It's meant to be like a place for your characters to live and get information before they go on the quest. But he had just told me we go into places and we kill things. I didn't know what that meant. So we walk into this village and he never fully described that this was a human village. So I assumed it was a monster village. So I went to the first house and I knocked on the door and someone answered the door and I put an axe in their hand. And then there were farmers in the field and they ran at me with pitchforks, so I killed them. And then I dug up all their treasure and then I went to the next house. And I got about 6 houses in and then the townspeople chased after me in the militia and I got stuck in the Inn of the Welcome Wench and then I had to barricade the door and they lit it on fire and Rolf died. And I was very mad and we had an argument about it and then he explained to me that I was a bad person. So my second character was a paladin named Victory Lion. He was lawful good. He was very good. He was a good person. I'm a good person. And in the second session, there were these people who were in danger, and my brother would just roll by, rules as written. He rolled a random encounter, and there was a hill giant for a first level group of characters, and we were going to die. And I was like, well, I'm the knight, so I will hold them off, and everyone else can run.
Oh.
And my brother said, you are a paladin. And I had never been so proud, and he'd never seen.
Oh, that's great. Great question.
Hello, my name is Maple. So I've been playing D&D for such a long time, and I've had so many experiences with my friends and so many impactful moments. So I want to know, what's the most impactful moment you've had on the table, either in character or as a DM? What moments still stick with you? That moment.
Yeah, sure.
That's a great question.
Down the line?
For timing, just keep it a little short on that.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Gosh, we've had so many emotional moments. I think that just the number of times players are in tears at the impact of the story. And I think I was playing with one of my friends who we hadn't played for very long. This was one of their first times. They had a familiar in the game, a horse, that they had decided to hide under in a rain of arrows. There was a rain of arrows coming in, and they realized at some point that this choice would end in their horse's death. This was them saving themselves and losing a beloved companion in this process, and we're just all bawling at the table at the sort of the gritty horror of having to sort of survive in this way in this moment. And that's the kind of the moment in which the story became so real and so heavy. And there's obviously really joyous moments in comparison, but that one just really stuck with me because I think it was the first time we'd all been crying at the same time around the table.
There are so many, it's very hard for me to choose, but the first one that comes to mind happened actually just a few years ago at D&D in the Castle. And one of my players was playing a very elderly cleric, very kind old man who had intercepted the invitation to become an adventurer in this quest that they were all taking. And over the course of the campaign, he was so friendly to everybody, always asking all of the villains what their names were, and slowly had converted every member of the party to his god. And every morning he would sit and like do a prayer that they were going to be successful for that day, and every evening, a blessing for everybody's safety. And it became this thing that each day at the castle, like each session, they were doing all of this. I'm like, okay, on the very final day, after everybody was successful and we won, we did the epilogue, and in the epilogue, he did the very final knight's prayer with everybody, and then he said that in the morning, everybody wakes up and just found him. Oh. And I'm actually going to start crying right now. But it was so emotional because he did his last journey, his last quest, and I'm gonna start crying. Yeah. But it was so emotional, and everybody, all of these strangers at the table 3 days earlier were bawling, and it just shows how impactful this can be, even with people you don't know that well.
It's incredibly hard to convey that kind of thing also to an audience. You've got so much history of storytelling to get to that point, and you're like, please understand, it was really impactful.
Yeah.
For me, it's several instances of sort of the same thing, is that the flip side of having all of this agency over the story is that sometimes the dice betray you deeply, and sometimes you go from a tremendous high to a sudden death of a character. And there have been a couple of moments in particular in actual plays that I've done where we would have this triumphant moment, and right after that, the ground would drop out from under us and one of our characters would, in some way, shape, or form, disappear. And for me, that, I think, is what drew me back to playing as an adult, was that, yes, I have agency, but I have to remind myself that the world is the world. And knowing that you have power to do so much, but also have to be grateful for everything in the moment, because you never know when it's going to disappear, that has been modeled to me over and over and over again through campaigns.
So good. It's funny, I'm going to say real quick on the D&D in a Castle, the game I ran in November, one of the things I did, the motivation for the group was that if they completed this quest, they would each get a wish, and they were able to bring someone back. No matter if they had, unlike Resurrection, they just needed the memory and the name of them, and this person would come back. And one of the players, when they made their characters, I said, you have to choose someone that you would want to bring back. And one person decided to put themselves through the ringer, and they had lost both their parents, and they knew they were going to have to choose. And I was like, oh my God, why are you doing that to yourself? And one of the other characters was set to betray everyone and going to take all the resurrections. And we got to the final moment, and they basically were going to steal it all. And I took them outside, and we went for a quick walk, and I was like, all right, Liam, you can have them all. They're yours if you take them. And he was literally, his hands were sort of shaking as we were talking. And he goes, yeah, my guy realizes excuse my language, he's a piece of shit. And he can't do it. I was like, oh, okay, so you're not going to take the wish? He goes, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give my wish to the guy who needs 2 people. Oh. And then I'm just going to go away. Yeah. And so I gave everyone, I purposely went around the table and said these people were coming back and resurrecting. And then I did the guy with the parents second last. Gave them both. And everyone goes, what? And he starts, what? And then the other guy, I go, and he's gone. He vanished. You don't see him. And then he did a little moment where he described that he was going to go off and try and prove himself worthy before he got that resurrection. And the whole table just lost it, absolutely lost it. And it was this funny thing because we're all crying at the table. And then everyone's like, and I said, well, thank you for playing. It's been really fun playing with you for the last 3 days, whatever. And there's all this thank you, Jim. We had a very good time. This was really special. And you're just like, this is so weird to try and explain to people, how this stuff works and how the bond we now have. It was so cool.
So we just got given the 10-minute mark. So as we ask our question, we can still do questions, but just we're going to keep it to one person answering it and try to keep it a little more focused.
Yeah, of course. First of all, Orange County represent. My wife and I have been lucky enough to have 2 campaigns going on right now, but it's been mostly a sense of a way of us to escape from the world. Especially the way the world is right now with the horrors of the genocide in Gaza, rising fascism domestically, environmental collapse, Do games have a place just for escape, or is there any chance of it to engage with the real world?
Absolutely. You can engage with the real world. You must engage with the real world. Science fiction and fantasy fiction have the unique ability to talk about socio-political events and socio-political situations and constructs, but in a reality-adjacent kind of way, so that we can actually take in those stories and those moments that are dubious and those moments where we're working things out without being hammered over the head with it like we are with the news. So we can then take that out into the world and live in the world that we want to create a little bit more than the world that actually exists, so that we can move towards something that looks a little bit more like the world we want to live in. He said talk fast.
I don't think anyone else needs to add anything. That's
Next,
We're going to do one and one
Next
so we
question.
can get through everybody.
Hello, my name is Fitzroy. I also started playing D&D at my school's Dungeons and Dragons Club, which was really cool because everyone was able to stick to a consistent schedule at the same time every week because we all went to the same school and we were already at school.
amazing.
Do you have any recommendations? Because it is not as easy once you graduate to keep that consistent schedule with your friends and keep those consistent meeting times. So do you have any recommendations?
I wish it was so
Elisa,
simple.
Oh yeah, if someone solved that,
I
please,
mean, I'm
please
just
let
going
us
to say,
know.
like, make an appointment. It's an appointment like a doctor's appointment or work or anything like that. And just stick to a schedule and, like, make an agreement with your group. We're going to do this. And unless there's something that comes up, like, I'm the jerk in my group because I have to travel for work so much. But I always say, I know. But I always say, play without me if you have to. And our game goes when only one person is missing, right? And if one person is missing, that's fine. We side quest it or whatever. Otherwise, you make the appointment, you keep that schedule, and you invest in it. And when you invest in it, it becomes a regular thing, and then you do it.
If you were part of a community play or a sports team or whatever, you would make that commitment, you'd show up for practice, you'd do the things because it has meaning to you. If you give it value, then it becomes valuable. Do you know what I mean?
We gotta keep it tight.
It's easy to say it and hard to do it. I totally get it. As adults, our responsibilities are, overwhelming and things like that. But exactly that, play without that person there, that the longing that they want to be there, that it is important that the game continues almost no matter what. I was running a game that the last campaign.
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I love you. You're good.
No, it's good.
Next question.
Hi guys, my question is for Teagan here. You have filled such a void with Hero Forge. I mean, we've used it for so many things, and like you guys have said at the table too. I'm curious what the initial room where it happened conversation, where did you get the inspiration? You might have answered it already when you said with your first character, but I'm just curious what made it manifest? How did it actually get off the ground?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking that question. It was, I guess the room where it happened was a hot tub, and it was friends. And we were talking about a D&D game that we were in, and one of our friends had tried to get us all our characters for Christmas. And we'd all just had such a hard time finding our characters, and I'm in Los Angeles, I'm in the video game industry, so I knew a lot of people in that connection. It was just like, we want this to exist so badly. Why doesn't this exist? It should. Wait a second, can we make this exist? And it all just snowballed from there, so thanks for asking.
That's great. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. We get the 3-minute warning, so just...
Okay. Hi, my name's Alexis, and I hope it's not too controversial for me to say that the rise in unregulated AI has really done a disservice to a lot of creative fields and devaluing a lot of the artistic employment that make cons like this happen. And I would be really interested to know you guys' thoughts on how D&D can be a really unique way to show how community and creativity is something that is human and can't be recreated in AI in creative
I'm going to
spaces.
field this one if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, I'm the VP of Creative at a brand new app for DMs and players, and that supports artists and creatives, which has zero AI, but uplifts creators. It's called Infinite Stories. Please check it out. We're in pre-launch right now, infinitestories.com, and what it does is it is a DM toolkit that allows DMs to be able to put together campaigns very quickly and easily. Our tagline is easy as AI, 100% human created, and basically it allows people who are either artists or authors or voice actors, musicians, map makers to be able to put up their creations and put it into the marketplace and then DMs can also take that at a very low cost to them, add it to their campaigns, and everybody gets paid, and everybody's supported. And we literally just had pre-launch this week, and we are really, like, the AI problem is a problem. As a writer, I know my stuff has been scraped and is out there. All my artist friends are scared. My voiceover friends are scared. And so just don't use it. Don't use AI and check out Infinite Stories.
Cool. Thank you.
And last question? We're all good for the last question. We're good.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say very quickly thank you for your comments with regards to being other but not feeling othered. I think that speaks very deeply to so many of us in this room because virtually everybody who plays D&D is different in some way, shape, or form. When I was serving in the Marine Corps, I was finding out that I was gay and did not have an outlet for that other than D&D. We played a lot of 3.5 at the time, and I was able to figure out who I was through the voice of that character, and that gave me the courage to eventually found my own TTRPG company that is all LGBTQ owned. Many years... Thank you. I also just want to say directly to Anjali, one of our players, she, at the time, was male presenting when she first started playing D&D, and through that character discovered her own voice and who she really was, and she based her character on you, believing that you were the absolute epitome of femininity for women of color. So, what you guys do is powerful, it's amazing, and it's transformative, but my question is, for so many people in this room that have the talent and have a voice and have stories to tell, how do they get those stories out there? How do we go from playing games in our home to playing games on that stage and taking that message to the next generation of players so that they too can find a place where they belong?
I think we'll have to answer that question out there because we get a thing on that, but that's a great thing on that. So, and I don't want to cut you off, so we'll do the outside on that.
Totally.
But on that, we get the thing. So if everybody could please say who they are and where they can find you and what's going on for your projects.
You can find me at Teagan Morrison on all social media, and thank you, everybody. You're absolute legends. Oh my gosh.
That's so good.
You can find me at elisateague.com, at Geeky Pinup on most socials, or Elisa Teague on Blue Sky, and also now on Infinite Stories. So yeah.
On socials, you can find me at Sweet Anj with 3 E's because I'm the only Indian who doesn't care about spelling, or Google is wonderful. All of my 19 emails are on there. And you can also find me in Chicago doing the 20-sided tavern in August. So come join us there.
Everything, I've had my own website for like 27 years. So jimzub.com has got all my socials. It's got my newsletter, the Zub Stack. There's also tutorials about how I broke into storytelling, working professionally in games and comics, examples of my scripts, and all that kind of stuff. If you can find everything there, nice and simple.
One of the best at self-promotion is Jim Zub, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
it. Thank you all so much for coming out to D&D at Comic-Con. Play some games and get out there and roll some dice. Woo!